Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. So we're going to get this show started with a Q&A question. For those of you who are new to my channel, about a week ago, I decided that I was going to answer at least one question that I received from viewers during a new segment. And the reason being is because over time, I did realize that a lot of the questions that I received via email and via DM on Twitter, it was the same questions over and over from people. So it's just easier for me to answer it on here instead of replying to all different emails and DMs. So today's Q&A question is, pull up my thing here. Are you a Black Italian? So I get this question a lot, you guys. You might be surprised, but I get it often. People usually ask this question because of my last name. So hopefully me talking about this here will settle this, right? So my last name, Salvati, is my married name. I used to be a Thompson. And so that's where my last name comes from. And my husband is Italian. That's why I have an Italian last name. But no, I am not a Black Italian. And yes, there are Black Italians, but I am not one of them. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's dive right into today's discussion. So the Vanguard recently posted a video about The Hill, the show Rising, and Crystal and Saagar's departure from that show. And then right after that, they posted another video where they're talking about how Crystal and Saagar, with leaving The Hill and Rising, some of the problems that they ran into with The Hill, which is it's corporate media. So I'm going to play that clip for you from the Vanguard, and then I'm going to tell you about my own personal experience that I had with corporate media and why I do this show. So let me play that clip.
But yeah, he definitely spilled the beans, spilled the tea a little bit when it came to this whole situation. And I cut up a bit of an abbreviated highlights reel for you guys because this was a pretty long video he released addressing the situation. But I wanted to, share with you the best moments, the parts that I thought were the spiciest, the parts where I really thought it got down to the meat of the issue. So let's take a look and we can react to the situation.
As you all know, Crystal and Saagar just recently left The Hill. They're going independent. The Hill, which of course is the company where they did Rising, the corporation where they did their show Rising. The Hill YouTube channel pulled down Crystal and Saagar's farewell video after they left. So they only left it up for what, 2 days, 3 days, something like that, before they pulled it down. They had the title for their video all set and ready to go. They had, the order ready to go. So in other words, their exit video would be the first video of the day for that show, and it would be premiered. And of course, when a video is premiered, and when it's the first video, typically that video does very well. So they had their title ready. They had the video ready to premiere. And then behind the scenes, somebody decided, let's change the title to something incredibly vague that has no reference whatsoever about how Crystal and Saagar are leaving. The title was like, Today on Rising or some shit. And they removed it from a premiere. Now, if I'm not mistaken, most of the time, if not every time they do a show, the first video is premiered. So they removed the video from premiere, made it a regular video, changed the title to something incredibly vague in general, but it gets even worse. There were moments where they turned the comments off. And there were other moments where they turned the likes and dislikes off. So, listen, I don't know the specifics in terms of behind the scenes at corporate media, at The Hill, but there was obviously some sort of tug of war going on.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, they also banned Kyle from being featured on The Hill, too, which is another little tidbit that Crystal shared on Status Quo. It's fucking crazy, man. I mean, this is what happens when you allow the media machine to try and fucking get you in the web And honestly, again, we applaud Crystal and Saagar for giving them the middle fucking finger, and Kyle for giving them the middle finger too, because it is scary when a fucking extremely large company threatens to sue you.
All right, I'm gonna pop back out. So, by the way, if you guys don't follow the Vanguard, definitely follow them. Those guys are awesome. I've been on their show. I've had them on my show. Definitely a cool channel to follow. That being said, everything that was said in that video, none of it surprises me. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you about the experience that I had with corporate media many years ago. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was in undergrad, I majored in broadcast journalism in English. During my sophomore year, I wanted to get an internship at a local news station. And everybody said no, because they only would take juniors and seniors. But there was one local news station that said, we can't have you on as an intern, but if you want to volunteer just so that you can get the experience and put this on your resume, you can definitely come in and volunteer. So I was just eager to get experience. So I was like, heck yeah, bring me in. So I volunteered at this news station. And one day I went out with reporters. I was basically shadowing them. And there was a story that broke in a local neighborhood. We got the video footage. We interviewed 2 people in that neighborhood. Now follow me, come walk with me, because this is important. When we got back to the studio, I actually was the one who edited the video footage. So I pretty much created the story that you would see on the news that night. I told you we interviewed 2 people. One of the people that was interviewed, which I personally, if it was up to me, I would not have interviewed them. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But one of the interviews, I chose to not include that in the finished product. The reason being is because I watched them interview this guy, a Black guy who had no teeth, who had no shoes on, who had difficulty speaking English. And being Black, I did not want that to be seen to viewers on late night TV, on the news, because I didn't want that to be a representation of African Americans. I said, no, we're not going to put him out there like that. We're not going to put him out there on local news like that so people can make fun of him. I'm not going to do that. In media, they had a term for this type of person. They used to call it the village idiot. And that was kind of a thing back then. They were like, let's get the village idiot because it's going to get us ratings. But it's not cool to the person that's being interviewed, because they don't realize that that is what corporate media is doing. They're just using them so that they can get ratings, and they're laughing at them behind the scenes. So I purposely did not put that interview in. That night, when I got home, I was so excited. I was like, yes, man, I'm finally about to see, you're going to watch me on the news. I told my friends. I was in a sorority at the time. I told my sorority sisters, like, oh, you're going to see me. It's not going to be me, but the video that you're going to see, I did it. I was so excited. And then when it aired, I became very quickly became disappointed, because the interview that they included in that story was the interview that I had purposely taken out of the gentleman that had no teeth and had no shoes on and had difficulty speaking English. I purposely left that out because I did not want him to be mocked. That was the interview that they put back in the video footage that was shown on local news that night. The other interview, the one that I kept in, they took that one out. This is why you don't see me working at a local news station. This is why you don't see me working with any type of corporate media, because I was really young back then, but I found out early on that this is what corporate media does. I found out early on that I would never really get the opportunity to tell my story, because once they got a hold of it, production, editing, people who came after me, after I had already went through the video footage, they were going to change it and make it what they wanted to be. And this is what you see right now with Crystal and Sagar in the Hill. You just heard on the video, they removed comments, they changed the title. This is what they do. This is why people like Torrin Walker decided to start their own media company, because they had similar experiences working for corporate media. They would write a story, and by the time it got through the editors and everybody else and finalizing these stories, it wasn't even the story that they were trying to tell. You don't really have control. Everything that you see on my show is 100% me. It's authentic and it's real. My sister helps me a lot with things with the show too. So for example, the thumbnails I create for my videos, that's all me. The intro that you see at the beginning of my video, my sister created that. My website, my sister created that. There's nobody above us. There's no company telling us what we can and what we can't do. There's no company telling us what we can and can't talk about. Part of the reason why I decided to do independent media is because I felt like corporate media was not doing a good job. And as you saw, I had that experience when I was an undergrad. It's a shame that Crystal and Sagar spent all those years, all that time working really hard on that show, and this is how The Hill does them. But this is how they do you when you don't control the narrative. This is how they do you when you don't own the product. This is how they do you when you work with corporate media. They'll tell you things. When people are trying to get you to come on board, they'll tell you a lot of stuff. I had friends that have worked in corporate media and they'll tell them, yeah, come on, you can talk about whatever you want. You can write about whatever you want. But then when they get there, they realize that's not true. They change the story. Doing this, I don't have anybody I have to answer to. I don't have anybody trying to change my story. This is why I highly encourage people to watch independent media. There are people out there doing really, really good investigative journalism. Some of the shows I think you should check out: The Convo Couch, Frank Analysis, Facts on the Ground. I mean, at Nico House, like Slow News Day, they are out there doing investigative journalism. They're also out there doing activism. If you don't follow those channels, I highly recommend that you do. But in the end, this is what corporate media does. This is what they've been doing, and this is what they'll continue to do.